Today is Thursday, February 17th. What to know about the U.S. and other nations accusing Russia of lying, and more cyber attacks have been uncovered. Also, Americans across several states are once again in the path of severe weather, where the biggest threats are today. Plus, millions of dollars in student debt will be erased, a new subscription service for flights, and Disney wants to come to a neighborhood near you. Welcome to the NewsWorthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The U.S. says Russia has sent another 7,000 troops near Ukraine's borders, and that Russia's claim to be partially pulling back troops was totally false. NATO and several European governments say the same thing. According to the latest estimates, there are now more than 150,000 troops east, north, and south of Ukraine. Yesterday, many of them were holding shooting drills and fighter jet training missions. So the U.S. and its allies say there's still a strong chance that Russia could attack any day, threatening Europe's security and economic stability. One U.S. official also told the AP Russia is passing on a lot more disinformation. Apparently, the Russian government is purposely spreading false reports that say things like the U.S. and Ukraine are developing biological or chemical weapons, that the West is sending rebels to kill Ukrainians, and more. The official says Russia is really just trying to invent a way to justify a war. But Russia says the West is paranoid and still insists it has no intention of invading Ukraine. Remember, though, there has already been another kind of attack. Ukraine says the cyber attack that happened earlier this week was the largest of its kind in Ukrainian history. The U.S. thinks Russia is behind it. And now a new alert says Americans have been hit too. The U.S. intelligence community says Russian government-sponsored hackers have been targeting defense contractors and subcontractors for at least 2 years now. Already, the alert says they got enough to be able to adjust their own military plans and priorities, develop new technologies, and leak any of America's intentions. The FBI, NSA, and CISA think these Russian hackers will continue to target defense contractors for more information. To be continued. A massive storm is bringing the U.S. snow, rain, floods, strong winds, and possibly tornadoes all by the end of this week. It already started, but the worst of it could still be ahead. Today, snow is expected to span all the way from Oklahoma to Michigan, and some areas could get up to a foot. And it could be especially dangerous since the winds are supposed to be blowing pretty hard, too. Then the storm moves to the mid-south and southeast. Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Jackson, Mississippi are all in the path of damaging winds and tornadoes today. By tomorrow, this storm system is headed up the northeast coast all the way to Maine, bringing more snow, rain, and even flooding in some places where a lot of ice and snow is melting. So all over the country, people are stocking up on supplies, crews are treating roads, and people in flood zones are moving stuff out of their basements and setting up sandbags. Lawmakers investigating last year's Capitol riot are about to get a lot more documents to go through. President Biden told the National Archives to let the panel have White House visitor logs from the Trump administration. Former President Trump tried to block those records, citing executive privilege. And that's the idea the president can have secrets in certain circumstances. But Biden said the visitor logs don't count. Trump did not comment on this latest development, but in the past he said he needed to keep his visitor logs private because of national security concerns. The House's January 6th committee is still trying to get even more documents from the Trump White House and more interviews. Already they've received thousands of documents and more than 560 people have testified to the committee. The committee is made up of mostly Democrats, though party leaders say they would have preferred a more bipartisan commission. But the Senate voted against that idea. Most Republicans have called this whole probe unnecessary since law enforcement agencies are also doing their own investigations. Americans spend a lot more money at the start of this year, and not just because things are costing more. It seems they're actually shopping more, too. The Commerce Department's latest report says retail sales rose nearly 4% last month since December. That's the largest month-over-month increase since nearly a year ago, when Americans were getting relief payments. And last month, prices were only up 0.6%, so the cost of items is not the only reason sales are higher. The biggest increase can be attributed to online shopping, though sales of furniture, cars, and building materials also went up much higher than the overall average. On the other hand, restaurants and bars saw their sales go down since December. So that might be an area where people are cutting back, or it might reflect some ongoing concerns about COVID-19. Some financial consultants think inflation will start impacting people's spending patterns more later this year, since there are few signs inflation will reverse itself down anytime soon. The Fed is likely to start raising interest rates next month, but that won't solve the fact that products are still in short supply. And employee wages are rising, so many companies are increasing prices to make up for that. All right, we have more news coming up, but first, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsor. It's a new year, which means it's time for new ideas. And turns out that women may be better investors than men. That's right, according to research, women investors outperform their male counterparts. So what gives some women investors an edge? They're more likely to be risk-conscious with their investments, according to this research. And one asset that can help diversify your portfolio and is not so correlated to traditional stocks and bonds is blue-chip contemporary art. And typically, it's only the bajillionaires like Beyonce and Bezos who can afford a chic Picasso for their walls. But Masterworks is changing all of that. Masterworks is the startup giving everyday investors a piece of the art pie, or palette to be metaphorical. They've made blue-chip art investable, so you can own a fraction of a multi-million-dollar piece of art. That way, anyone can add paintings by artists like Monet, Basquiat, and Banksy to their portfolio without paying millions. And you can join them by going to Masterworks.Art/newsworthy. Again, that's Masterworks.Art/newsworthy. See important disclosures at Masterworks.io/disclaimer. Nearly 2,000 former DeVry University students will get their student debt wiped clean. That's because the Department of Education says the for-profit college lied about how well its graduates were doing to lure in new students. The school had said 90% of its graduates found jobs in their field of study within 6 months of graduating, but in reality, only 58% did. The department says school officials knew the numbers were wrong. So now the Biden administration is forcing the school to cover the cost of the student loans being scrapped. It comes out to $71.7 million. A DeVry spokesperson says the school does not agree with the outcome of the suit and that the Department of Education mischaracterized the numbers. By the way, this is the first time the Education Department has approved claims like this for a university that is still open. But the government said it's also forgiving $344 million in loans for former students of other closed for-profit colleges like ITT Tech and Westwood College and more. A parent in the college admissions bribery scandal just got the longest sentence handed down so far. Former Staples executive John Wilson got 15 months in prison on fraud and bribery charges for the scheme authorities dubbed Operation Varsity Blues. Remember, prosecutors say dozens of wealthy parents conspired with an admissions consultant and paid to get their kids into prestigious schools as fake athletic recruits. Most famously, actresses like Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman were charged. They, like dozens of other defendants, already pleaded guilty and served their time. But Wilson is one of only 2 people to go to trial so far. He's said to have paid more than $1.2 million in bribes to get spots for his 3 kids at Harvard, Stanford, and USC. Wilson denied he did anything wrong and argued that he believed his money would be used for university donations. His lawyer promised to appeal the outcome. Alaska Airlines unveiled the first ever flight subscription for West Coast travel. It's called Flight Pass, and it lets members pick from 100 daily round-trip flights between 16 West Coast cities for one flat fee. The airline has 2 different annual plans. The standard plan starts at $49 a month, and with this one, you have to book your flights at least 14 days in advance. The Pro plan allows same-day booking, but it starts at $199 a month. But you are still limited with how many flights you can take. When you sign up, you choose the number of annual round trips you want, so 6, 12, or 24. Then you redeem your credits when it's time to fly. And you'll still pay somewhere around $30 each flight for government taxes and fees on top of your monthly subscription fee. Plus, you may pay a bit more during peak demand. Adults and kids alike may never have to leave Disney magic behind again. Story Living by Disney is a new residential community that can immerse people of all ages into the world of Disney. The first of many neighborhoods planned is in the Coachella Valley of California. Disney says with a voluntary club membership, there will be curated experiences like live performances, cooking classes, and philanthropic events. There will be different home types to choose from, ranging from estates to condos. And it'll have a section for residents older than 55. Disney says the home prices will be set by the home builders and developers, so they haven't been announced yet. Disney says other U.S. locations are being considered for development in the future. One of the biggest Olympic rivalries came head-to-head this morning. We're talking about Team USA versus Canada in women's hockey. This was their final match of the Beijing Olympics, and Canada won it 3-2. And that means Canada is taking home the gold, and the U.S. will get silver. This was actually the 6th time out of 7 tournaments that the final women's hockey game came down to the U.S. and Canada. Canada has won most of them. The only time Team USA brought home the gold was the last Winter Olympics in 2018. Also happening today, the women's figure skating free skate competition that's at the center of one of the biggest controversies at the Games. The Russian teen skater who failed a pre-Olympic drug test is currently in the lead. And if she finishes in the top 3, medals will not be awarded. That's the decision the IOC came to since an investigation over her drug test is supposedly ongoing. 3 Americans are also competing in today's medal event. As for Team USA's overall standings, America is still in 3rd with 8 of their 20 medals being gold. And that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. And today we're talking about how the average life expectancy could depend on what state you live in. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. When it comes to looking good, Stitch Fix has you covered. Say goodbye to wasting all your time and energy on endless browsing online, and hello to fresh picks curated for your taste and your size. Whether you need date night dresses or cozy loungewear, Stitch Fix can help refresh your look. And you have options. For the least work on your part, just schedule a fix and a stylist will send you 5 pieces that fit your style, size, and price range with no subscription required. Keep what you like and then return the rest. I love this option because you can actually try things on and get that extra help from a stylist. But there's another great option if you'd rather choose items yourself, and that's called Stitch Fix Freestyle. It's an online shop built just for you, based on your preferences, so it's kind of like having your very own clothing store. It's the easy way to get items that are just right for you from brands you know and trust, like Madewell and Sanctuary. Get started today by filling out your free style quiz at stitchfix.com/newsworthy and take advantage of free shipping and free returns. That's stitchfix.com/newsworthy to try Stitch Fix. stitchfix.com/newsworthy. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. People in Hawaii may be living their best or at least their longest lives. Hawaii topped the nation for life expectancy at birth in 2019 at 80.9 years. That's according to a report on all U.S. states from the CDC's National Center of Health Statistics. The state with the lowest life expectancy was Mississippi at 74.4 years. And nationally, life expectancy sat at 78.8 years. That's up a little from 2018. The new report also showed life expectancy at birth was higher for women than for men in all states in Washington, D.C., and that most of the lowest life expectancies were southern states that also had higher poverty rates. But again, this data is from before the pandemic began. So the overall U.S. life expectancy at birth went down a bit since then, from 78.8 years in 2019 to 77 years in 2020. By the way, Hawaii's top life expectancy is linked to more than just surf and sand. The state has one of the higher median household incomes after D.C., Maryland, and New Jersey. All right, thank you so much for listening today and for sharing the show. We'll be back with much more news tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.